Welcome back to the Grey Couch, where we say life is not black or white, but many shades of grey that we get to explore together to be better individuals in better marriages. My name is Stanley, and this is
Otito.
And today we're going to jump right real quick, something that I saw recently, and we Otito had a conversation, wasn't a heated conversation about it, and it's this man keeping. And we don't have an answer, we don't have a solution, but I'm just going to present it to you guys. I will say my arguments against, Otito will say her arguments either against or for, and we'll leave it at that and let you guys have these conversations in your living room, your bedroom, etc. So,
I guess the first question is always what is mankeeping? Like there's always a new name for things that have existed forever. This is what I feel. I feel like this is a new name for something that is, an old phenomenon.
So the lingo is that man-keeping is the supposedly, and I'm using supposedly because I don't completely agree, disproportionate emotional labor, I guess, that women are taking on in caring for their spouse, their significant other. And the key word is disproportionate, whereby they are taking on more than their fair share, and it's not being reciprocated. At least that's the way I understand it. So the things that come to mind are things like you become your spouse's therapist, you become a social organizer, you become a financial keeper, you become all these things that I originally thought were part of the marriage package, where the two have become one. But then I'm thinking, or I guess my guess is that since this is disproportionate, we won't say that listen, we're taking on more than we signed off for the original agreement, and therein lies the problem. Is that a clear definition of what you understood by it?
I mean, I guess it is, but when you think about coming from, I would say, a spiritual perspective, maybe because you say, oh, the person is, helpmeet or helpmates or suitable help. But I always think about help as the person is already doing something. You are just aiding them, not taking over or letting them, passing on the whole thing to you to say, take it. Help already means that somebody is doing a major or, a huge chunk of it, and then you are coming in to kind of aid, right? Help them. So, but I mean, we talked about this, and I said I think this is more of a Western construct. I feel like it's very culturally induced. I don't think growing up in Nigeria, I'm not sure this is a conversation that Nigerian women would have per se, which is not true. I'm just saying I don't mean that the thing does not happen. I just mean that it's not a conversation they'll be having. Period. Because back then mothers were micro entrepreneurs doing things. To me, that's all part of taking on the financial labor of running a household, right? But it was almost like it was expected of you, so you didn't do it. I think that now what's happening, a lot of people are pushing back, and the pushback looks like it's reverberating. That's why it looks like it's a lot of people now saying the same thing. Like I said, it's an age-old phenomenon where sometimes some women just find themselves being responsible, right, for the house. And again, you find some people talk about it from the perspective of masculinity versus femininity, and the women are more masculine. And I keep saying, who on earth wants to be masculine? But if the person that you're living with is not doing what they're supposed to do, you find yourself filling in the gap, right? So I mean, so the question that we're that it's man keeping hurting the relationship, or is it helping the relationship? I guess it depends on who you ask. If you ask the women, they'll probably tell you one.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask.
And that's true. I for one thought that this was a little too much, whereby you're like, this is the reason why people are getting divorced. I have to say, the article that I read, I'm not sure how many of them were already married, whether this is just a, hey, we're close friends, we're dating type of thing, and hey, I'm not ready for this, as opposed to you've already gone to an altar and you've made a pledge for better, for worse, in sickness and whatever. So that I couldn't decant from what I read.
In the comments, there were many married people, old married people. That's why I say it's an age-old phenomenon, right?
My arguments for pushing back are really that I can personally say that man-keeping, if we use that lingo, has personally helped me. Especially coming from the culture I come from, whereby being vulnerable or being emotional was stigmatized, that was looked frowned upon. It's not something that I'll come out and do. And so, in the safe space, the sanctity of my marriage, whereby, okay, these are some challenges I'm having, these are problems I'm having, I bring it to my spouse, and I let spouse know, hey, I had this problem at work with this person, with this boss, or these are issues I'm having with my family, and get some insight, get some perspective that really help you to improve, and even get some language to say, okay, this is how you're feeling, express it this way. So it was a personal growth way, and I'm grateful for it. I can see where it can go to the other extreme, whereby in addition to handling my own burden, you're also handling yours, and there's no space. And I think that's where conversation comes. Where I say, listen, or boundary setting. They should go that way. Hey, listen, this particular area, I've done as much as I can do for now. Whatever you decide to do, you are the one going to walk in those shoes, a mile in those shoes. Take it from there. But this isn't just to throw away the baby with the bathwater and now say, oh, don't even have your own friends outside where you're going to express these things to, or the wife has no idea what's going on in the challenges that you're having. I just don't think that's the package someone signed up for marriage.
Well, I mean, like you said, I don't know if we had the same attitude in the sense that I don't think that was the premise the person was saying. First of all, it came from academic research and all, and I think fundamentally the issue was, why do men not have enough friends? That's fundamentally the issue. Like, why are you using your wife as social, this, everything, all of these things is found in the I mean, let me not say the wife, the home, right? So I think that's what the thing was saying, to say one person cannot be everything to you, right? You need to have your own, like, support network, right? Because women are really good at that, finding ways to fill, their emotional tank. Obviously, the part that was not spoken to is maybe are men not even able to do that for the women, or it's just that women naturally gravitate to other women to do this for them. Not
to pass the buck, but I see a problem here whereby the same society that educated or socialized you into being nurturers and socialize the man into going outside, being brave, finding competitive, is now coming back to blame the men that, oh, you are not nurturing enough. Whereas that's not the setting you have.
I'm not sure it's a question of blame. The problem was, why, as men get older, their social circles shrink. It's the same marriage now, but the women's social circles are not shrinking as much. I mean, some people shrink, but because of their spouses, like their spouses will allow for that because you're trying to control. There's a certain level of control there. That's not what we're talking about. But it's just like, what is this thing where you feel like, I don't need anybody else? That is detrimental to the men. That's usually what he's saying, because in saying you don't need anybody else, you're actually putting a lot of burden on the woman. That's what that article was saying, as far as I saw it too.
So as a guy, I'll let you know that there's friend, and then there's close circle of tightened circle of friends, and then there's best friend, not the.
And the women don't have this.
Well, I mean, your level of friend. So as a guy, the depth I'll go to with a friend is different from the depth I'll go to with a close friend, and it's very, very different from the depth I'll go to with my wife. And otherwise, I'd have called you my friend. Well, even though you are my friend, and you know what I'm talking trying to say.
Yeah, but even if you said that, I kind of think, okay, well, if I came to you and I said, I only have one best friend in this world, I don't have any other friends. So you give me the side eye to say, are you sure everything is okay? You understand? But that's literally where a lot of men are in this life. And that's kind of, to me, the premise of the article, to say this is not good, because the older one gets, the more disproportionately the burden, gets on somebody. I remember seeing a skit where someone went to the doctor. It was one of these anthropomorphic things with animals acting like humans, and the doctor is like, what medicine are you taking? And he calls the wife, oh, what medicine am I taking? The doctor wants to know. Stand on the scale. He calls the wife. The doctor said to stand on the scale. Should I stand with my right leg? Should I stand with my left? I mean, it was quite funny, but people were just like, oh my god, like, you're describing my life. So I think it's that thing where, I mean, obviously, taken to an extreme.
That's what I'm about to say.
However, a lot of people are like that. Like, you ask a question and you say, let me go ask my wife. It's my wife that knows. It's my husband. You know what I mean? And so the question now becomes, if the other way was turned, would your wife be able to call you and get an answer, on the fly, or about knowing things, right? Those kinds of things. So couple that with then all these other things we're talking about. I think that's what people are then pushing back against.
Okay, two extremes though, because I would see that as the wife has a lot of influence on the husband. Maybe too much influence. That example is an extreme example. It's a real, you have to, the pendulum is almost all the way on the other side.
But it's a skit. In that skit, there's some truth. A woman there said, I'm a teacher. Sometimes the fathers come and they have to think about their children and what class their children are in. So these are the kind of things that, we laugh about it, and it's like, but that's a woman who's saying life experience based on a skit to say, oh, wow, and she thought this was just a joke, and that she'll be looking at these fathers and thinking, are you not the father of this child? How will you not know what class your children, are in, right? That kind of thing. So again, you can see us breaking this down, and it's looking like, oh, okay, is this part of what people are talking about? But these are the things, right? That a woman is having to take all those, maybe for instance, medical things, take all that. So what's the child's weight? Hey, what size is the child again? You're in the shop and you're calling her at home to say, what size is the child again? Oh, are they 8 years old? Are they 9 years old? I mean, like I said, extreme, but it's those daily repeated interactions that women are taking on that they're saying this is a lot, right? Because again, what's the difference between me going to that store, getting that thing quickly in 5 minutes, than me trying to do something else, and you are in the store, you said you would help get the thing for the child, and you are calling me? I'm not sure you're seeing how much of a like disconnect that is.
I just can't get beyond the fact that the guy's in the store trying to get clothes for his kids. I'm like, that's where I am. I'm like, this is a good job. And perhaps with repeated getting, the child is not growing too quickly. You can get that hang of it, as a muscle memory.
So I guess obviously we're not talking clothes, talking things, but if you were to think about it from the cognitive side, is before you set out to the store and you said you're going to go help, it's like, what is this? What is this? What should I get? Like all those things should have at least been asked. But most times, like, I'm trying to help you get things for the children. Jump in the car, no questions asked. Then you get to the store. When the woman who says, "Oh, this man is going to help me do things," has gone off to, then where would I say woman will go now? To another market, trying to purchase things. Then you are calling, "Oh, I'm in the store now. What's the age of the child? What size do they wear? What this do they wear?" So you are what's the word? Fractured attention. I think that's the word I want to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What I will say though is that, again, this is the communication. If the woman feels that this is getting too much, then the conversation needs to be had. The same person that, as opposed to brooding in silence and just, you now go with your girlfriends and then you're like, that's when it now comes that, hey, listen, guy, this has happened one too many times. What are you going to do? Because it's really bothersome to me. I'd rather just take care of the thing myself.
Okay.
You have to be
And
careful
then
though,
I
because
was
the man
gonna
might now
say,
say,
yeah,
I'm not doing it again.
defensiveness kicks in to say, after everything I've done, I'm even trying my best. Like,
Okay, what I will say is that on my own, I do have a close circle of friends that I can slowly bounce things off. It wasn't always this way. Among guys, these are not the things, emotional things are not what come top to mind. It's just but with this close circle of friends, and if you're watching, I'm able to talk a little bit more with them. And this is because yours truly said, hey, what's that word I was used? Is it learned helplessness? There was something else used whereby this is getting a lot for me. So that's something that I am doing on my own. And also from sports, you go out to go and play sports, but from sports, after the sports, you now sit down and talk a little bit about other things. It's something I am doing. What are you doing?
Other things apart from the things that matter.
How you say it? When you say the things that matter,
I know, right? No, I'm not guys. I'm saying the things that matter. Other things apart from the things that matter. Yeah. I mean, I guess you kind of have talked about it to say, is basically saying, like, if I'm using the shop example, it's like, before you go out next time, please ask for the things you need. When you get to the store and you're calling me and I'm doing other things, it's hard for me to give you the responses you need, right? So those kinds of conversation, which is interesting, because I was trying to have this conversation with someone. I said, you have to bring it up, you have to say, and they were like, oh, how many times am I going to say the same thing? I said, well, as many times as it takes for the thing to get there. However, I will say, if any of the men are listening, the day the person now says no, don't wonder where the no came from, because I would say the little, what do they call it, pebbles had been being dropped, but maybe one wasn't paying attention. So I think that's it, because sometimes some people wake up and they're done, and everybody wonders, what happened here? It's only the people in the relationship that knew, right, how much one person was disproportionately burdened, and they're like, I'd rather be by myself as opposed to carrying this burden for two people, right? And again, we're talking more middle age, the more this is not for young married people yet. That's why, to me, a lot of divorces happen around that side, because people just get to a point where they're like, I'm looking at the next 20 years, I don't want to continue, right? Because I don't see any signs that this might be shifting anytime soon. And it's always the person who is most pressed, right, who takes a decision. The person for whom it's working for does not see any need to change the status quo. I always say this in that time. And so sometimes it takes this to kind of shake people out of their inertia, I would say, right? Because at some point it becomes inertia, right? In that sense. Again, these are complex issues. There's no right or wrong. There's no plus or minus, because some people are just, I would say, natural born caretakers. They love doing it. They don't mind it. They're controlling, right? It's like, I want to be in charge of everything. And again, if it's working for you, all well and good. You cannot tell people to turn away from what's working for them because society is saying X, Y, Z. But to me, it's like, if these conversations are being had, it's good to lean in, right? It's good to lean in, because you just want to lean in and be aware of, if not for anything, because children are coming into the picture, right? Children are there, they're seeing things, and you are raising the next generation. So it's good to lean in and say, how does one find a good balance? Yeah. So that's it, right? I feel like these are conversations that need to keep continuing in every couple, every relationship, and societally, whatever society you're in, what is the thing that you can bring more to the center as opposed to just being on the extreme. So yeah.
And if your wife accuses you of man keeping, it's not necessarily doom and gloom. It can be a starter for this kind of conversation to see what type of needs she needs. But good job on man keeping. I'm happy you enjoyed it. All right, that's what we have for you for this week. From our couch to yours. Bye for now.